All right, welcome back to Soul Spark Tarot. I'm your host, Mr. Anu, and today we got ourselves a little check-in message. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Not really much to yap about today, but not really a channeled message neither. So overall energy for today. All right, so feeling good, feeling peaceful, feeling powerful, feeling creative, feeling in control of the things of the past, feeling like you're able to release, feeling like you've changed, feeling like you've gotten over the hump, feeling like things are moving where they should be, feeling productive, feeling like things are going the way you want them to go, feeling so great in all ways. And it's because you've done something, you've restarted something, you've kick-started something again. You did something, and it allowed you to release something else. What you did was you was dealing something with the devil energy. So you've been going in a loop with this energy, and now you found some kind of power within this loop. So whatever this devilish energy is, you now have power over it in all ways. It doesn't matter which way you're taking within this circle, you are able to start to see yourself as the powerful, loving, feel amazing person that you actually are. You feel amazing. Always. And look, it's because you found victory and stability over all of these aspects of the devil card. And it's sitting over on the cup card. So it's like your passions have now temperature emotions, and it's allowing you to see differently without anxieties. It's allowing you to see without projecting fears into the world, because you understand that you can project peace and safety. And so in the same sense of when you project a situation to be harmful, you can project it to also be safe and protective and likened upon yourself. So because you've realized that you can just change what you focus on, the idea is I gotta create a dipole or a division or an opposition, some kind of duality in order to shift. So I gotta actually understand what I'm referring to, what I'm looking at, what I'm projecting upon. I gotta be able to establish some real point in the world and then do a real opposite. For instance, hands. I have a hand on my right. I have a hand on my left. I have a hand on both sides. I have what is called right side, and I have a hand. And then I have something called left side, and I have a hand. When I put these two things that are the same together, realize that they're actually different. These are two different things, even though they're the same thing. These are hands, but it's two different kinds of hands. And that is the idea of you being able to shift the idea of anything that you're focusing on in life. Here is whatever I'm focused on, and here's the opposite. If this is the circle in tic-tac-toe, then this must be the X in tic-tac-toe. If this is the X in my equation, this must be the Y in my equation. It is automatic. North Pole, automatically you should have a South Pole. Doesn't matter where the South Pole is located, we just know the South Pole is something that's not me. That is the idea of you conquering the devil. The devil energy, where you can always find your victory, where you can always find your stability, is to know that you can always polarize everything. And if it maintains its truth, then you have a higher level of truth. And if it breaks down, then you have broken down knowledge. So that means you can learn from that aspect. But at the end of the day, you've mastered some part of you where you already know what I'm explaining. Your logical brain may or may not get it. Your heart brain may or may not get it, but there's a combination between any of the parts of you in which we would deem as resonance. So if you are feeling what I'm saying, even though you can't pinpoint the feeling of why you feel it, that's cool. You just need to know that a part of you is responding and it's relative to a part of you and you overcoming some aspect of your ego. I think giving and balance is the key. It's the name. Oh, it's responsibilities. So the things that you've been deeming to be responsible for, the things that you've been choosing put to burden yourself with, the things that you've allowed to stay inside of your own world and realm of reality, it's the things that you have conquered. It's like you've allowed yourself to understand the changes and in addition to the changes, the the conditions and the obstacles and the challenges that may exist with you or may exist in your world. You might have somebody else with problems and you see them and you would take on zero of their problems and keep all of your own and be grateful because you understand that you're running your own race and you're finding more gratitude and appreciation, even if it's a vice, even if it's something that is devil like, even if it's egotistical. It's allowing you to see, and when you can start to see yourself, then you can change how you see others. And then you can be obligated to that change that you see within yourself. And then you can make sure you understand that you're not obligated to anything outside of that or the changes that you enact in others. You're not obligated to adhere to these people. You're only obligated to adhere to yourself, as well as the changes you're making with yourself. And that means you might give love in a certain way, you might spread joy in a certain way that may not be conducive to other people. Like, it's simple, but the idea is that it's variable. So it makes it a lot more complex because we can exchange things in and out. And if the logic seems faulty, then that means that it appears to be incorrect. But appearance is not everything. There's values behind things that appear in a certain way. This is the idea of seeing a three-dimensional figure on a two-dimensional piece of paper. That should automatically tell you that that paper and that shape is not two-dimensional. It's ink or pencil on top of the paper, not in the paper. And so just because we can't feel the actual three dimensions of that image doesn't mean it's not there. We can't see it neither. We can just see the projections, but it doesn't mean it's not there. So even if people can't see you get better, even if people can't see you overcome these devils within you and around you, even if you put yourself in positions to where you have more burdens than what you need to have, that is just fine because you've mastered how to feel when enacting these behaviors. Whenever you're doing something, you understand how to do it now in order to make you your own first priority. And so even if you're waking up and you're feeling bad, but you've put in work and then you realize other people have put in work and that God answers in newness for you, then you appreciate that newness, especially when you try. And when you don't want to try and when you don't feel like trying, you appreciate that efforts that you put in even more so, especially when you can feel the shift. Damn, I'm glad I did that kind of vibe. So even if you got to put extra burdens on your life, you feel accomplished, you feel victorious, you feel stable, you feel on your high horse, you feel like nothing can stop you, you feel like you're the magician, that everything you do is powerful, and you feel good, and you feel powerful, and you feel like you can handle anything. It is everything that you want. So good job. What's the show itself? Again, good job with balancing your reality. And then after balancing your reality, you're able to focus on the fruits that you're cultivating. And it's amazing because when in this card, it's nice to see these fruits because I want to mention this. Every fruit needs to be cared for differently. You manicure all of these different pentacles differently. And so if you feel overwhelmed, if you feel, chaotic, unfocused, like if you feel like the seven of cups, I want you to understand the seven of pentacles has the ability to tailor and temper each of these pentacles. So that means you can go in and you can give tailored attention and temperance to each of your emotional cups. If you can do it over here, then you can do it over there. And if you can do it over here and there, then you can probably do it over here and over yonder. Different words for differences, and that's the whole point. We have to be able to differentiate these things by some kind of contrast, and then we got to be able to compare them on some type of comparison or a likeness. We got to see both sides so we can see the full picture, and that full picture doesn't give you 3, that picture gives you 4. Please try to listen to what I'm saying right now. Please try to listen to what I'm saying right now. I'm really trying to give you some juice. I'm really trying to feed you right now. I'm trying to take care of you. I really am. Again, seeing through these things, taking action so you can see through the stoppages, see through the anxieties, see through the blockages. King of Wands or King of Swords is my card of seeing straight through it, piercing through it all, analyzing you, and I can see layers of you. I can see you, and I can see your x-ray card, and I can see your aura, and I can see the MRI version of you, and I can see your energetic field, and then I can see your musculoskeletal system. I can see your skeletal system. I can see your neuromuscular system. I can see your neuron system. I can just see through you through the layers, no problem. But what are you seeing through? Well, you're not even looking. You're not moving. So you're seeing thoughts. So you can see through the thoughts now. You can see through the mind chatter. You can see through the monkey brain. You can see through the projections of others. You can see through the passing thoughts. You can now see through them because once before they made you focus upon them. You don't need to focus on these things anymore. You need to do what you need to do, which is to see through the situation and take action. Once you see through the situation and take action, it doesn't matter what action you're taking towards the sea. Whatever you saw, whatever you were looking at in your vision, that is the pinnacle that will take you away from this position here. And you now know that that ego that wants to keep you analyzing thoughts over and over and over, keep you in a stuck place, keep you what we call in stagnation, non-generative, we have to put yourself in a position to where you can help a different version of yourself. Be generative to a different version of you. And so see through yourself. And then once you can see through yourself, then you can move from the left side of yourself to the right side of yourself. The light side of yourself from the dark side of yourself. The feminine energy to the masculine energy. You can purposely shift. And that is the pentacle. That is the magic of this guy here. But it starts with the magic of feeling like you can. And when you feel like you can, then you can do. Just throwing that shit. It's funny because a lot of people are not smart in this world and they think they're so smart. And again, it's because simple facts like non-integration. When people don't want to integrate information, they will never see the complexities behind the new baby. They will never see that. They will never be able to move beyond their scope. So do not consider these people. I don't care what status they carry. Don't consider them part of your reality if you can see and integrated dualities. Treat them like children. Again, a child, you should want to help a child. You should want to listen to a child. You should want to be patient with a child. That doesn't mean condescend them because you know more. What that means is you lift them up because you know more. Each one teach one. But because you approach these people like that, it's going to force them to backtrack, which is going to create distance and it's going to make time in between, which allows them to analyze their own selves and what you're saying and how you're treating them because you're not going to approach their energy with the condescending energy. Yes, I still think you're immature, but I'm going to try to pick you up. And it's going to come off differently than you trying to pick up a mature adult or an immature adult. They're mature in certain senses, but they're immature in others. Whereas we expect a child to be immature in all ways. So we teach them in a more holistic manner. We teach them to look at more parts at once. Whereas adult, you got to talk to the person that you're talking to and then try to help them see a part that they refuse to address even in their own self. So when we're looking at talking to these people, when we're looking at addressing these people, we're going to understand that we're bringing tower moments to people by just choosing the responsibilities that we want to carry throughout life. It's going to trigger people. That's going to make people appear as other things. That's going to make people think you look like different parts of their own life's projections. But it's not the case. You're not obligated to these people's feelings. And once we can have them not being obligated to us not being obligated to them, it will create a distortion, which is creating a new reality of truth. And if you take the time to pause, you'll be able to allow that distance between you and different people, and that will process through your hangman position and enlighten you. You will have a new light to see through, and it's because you're seeing through your own self first. And again, the things that people are going to want to resist and hold on to are the things that's going to be attached to this tower moment. But throughout all of these, you're offering the pentacle. You're offering that new information. You're not trying to beat the child down. You're trying to lift the child up. And so through these motions of you being yourself, you're going to create these phases within people. But because you delivered it the right way by planting the seed of growth, then you're going to still put these people in the same hangman position. You're going to still give these people a tower. You're going to still make them want to be stingy, hold on to their knowledge, their behaviors, their ego. But at the end of the day, you will know that you've offered something and they will know it too, which will put them in a hangman mode, hopefully into some enlightenment. But it's going to allow them to just second guess their own self, and it's not because you're treating them as if they are idiots, even if they might be idiots. You're trying to leave clues and doorways for them to be opened to finding more information, but it's how you present that information. You're not obligated to do it in the way that you think that they'll understand. You're only obligated in the way that makes you feel powerful, yet in all ways. Powerful enough to help that person, but powerful enough to help yourself primarily. It's called temperance, man. So as you're doing this, you're going to be helping people come out the code. But in this coming out the code, in this heartbreak, in this idea of establishing the stinginess of not holding on, again, the communication is going to allow them to see the heartbreaks, which makes them feel out in the cold in other areas. When they're willing to be given, when they're willing to be charitable, those things are here, but they're attached to heartbreak. But it's heartbreak of the mind. So the communications that you're going to allow them to get over by you presenting yourself as who you are, which is a strong, powerful being who feels good, who knows they do good, who's going to take control of their own ego, and that's going to show how people can carry more burdens even when they're on a high horse already, yet they don't show it because they're just stable in who they are. They're going to be able to see that more clearly. And it's going to make people feel like this because they're going to be breaking their own hearts, but they don't realize that they still have all four of their pentacles. They just got an extra one now, and they can exchange that. And we've already seen that the Six of Pentacles wanted to come. So the idea is that all they need to do is understand that they can offer this new pentacle that was offered for them. And if they can teach one, then they can each be one together. They can be abundant. So, as we're stepping into this world, and as we're looking at all parts of the world, we got to understand that we can split the world up into threes, fours, all the way up to 12s. Most of us don't think at a 5 and up level. We can think in fours though. We got semesters in school. We got quarters for a dollar bill. But we got to understand that there's a dollar bill and then there's coins. They're not the same thing. They have the same value. So when you're stepping into the world, you just got to understand that people won't have the same value as you. But if you can value the fact that we can have differences in value, then you can look at the amount of volume or space that separates us as people. And if you got a value system that equates everything, even if it's unvaluable, you got to learn to work with that because there is a differentiation. That's called topology. You can equate things in different ways, even if it feels like they're not the same. So when you're stepping out into the world and you're trying to find value in people who clearly have different values from yourself, know that they are having responsibilities in their world just like you. Know that they have burdens just like you. Know that they can carry a 10 of wands just like you can carry a 10 of wands. So it doesn't matter if our intellectual aspects do not align. It doesn't matter if our emotional aspects can't empathize. It doesn't matter if our physical actions seem to be opposing. It doesn't matter if we have passions that lead us and drive us that are completely opposite to one another. What matters is that we can do. Each one can teach one. These principles that exist in the in-between spaces of who you are or what you claim to be or what we can identify you as, these in-between spaces that allow us to relate these topics to one another, the addition sign to your equation, the subtraction sign to your equation, we're trying to see how these relationships occur. And these relationships need to come at a fundamental level when you're perpetuating yourself as a person who has overcome their ego. And not just one way, in all ways, in multiple ways. You have stability and victory in that feeling as you project yourself as a healed person overcoming your own ego. You have to be able to see yourself as the one who can exchange, as the one who can make the change. You can do it. You can be the change that you see by seeing changes in yourself as you be, who you claim to be. That was a message for a guy walking by, too. Emperor in reverse with the sun. That's a crazy combination. I'm going to read it for us. Emperor in reverse, emotional immaturity, bondage to parents, possibility of injury to body or household, of being defrauded out of an inheritance. People taken away from you, man. That's the whole idea. This world that you allow to come in and just trample all over your responsibilities, your life. I think this is again for this gentleman here who walked by who interjected himself in my energy, saying with this other person here. I think they are people who allowed people to come in and dictate the responsibilities that they were supposed to carry. I know I've done it. I've been a people pleaser in a way just to hope that people will love me the same way, especially the closer they were to me. But in reality, it just taught them some aspect that I don't understand. But the key behind it is I know that I don't understand, but I know that that application of not understanding here shows me that I probably do it in another place that I can't understand over there. I know that I probably exact the same exact behaviors. I know that I probably do because I can't understand over here. I don't know myself 100%. There's parts of me that I don't understand. But again, that is us allowing ourselves to be the emperor in reverse, which says that I can now get counsel. I can now understand parts of me need help. I need to be taught instead of being the teacher. But that is the responsibility that we can carry. And we've already conquered that ego that says, I can teach or I can learn. I'm okay with both. I've already accomplished that educational dipole. I've accomplished that. I know how to master that wand, that power, that energy. And that energy that sits along this pole, it sits here as a die or a two. It's twofold. That means both sides can do two things. That means even if I'm in the reverse, there's somebody else who's probably not in the reverse. Even if I can't see, that means somebody else probably can see. Those are not opposites. Again, those are polarities. The opposite of can is cannot. Not the change in whether I'm doing or seeing. Those two things remain different. Is that a big orange or a small orange? Is that a big apple or a small apple? Are these big fruits or small fruits? You got to see that it takes an extra step to see the change in between them both. This shows that you wasn't able to see that extra change. And it's probably because you didn't feel that power, which is probably why when you feel the power now and you feel that God-given instinct that you carry, then you can understand the emotions that you produce and the ability to protect the things that your emotions once threatened. Your emotions threaten certain things in your life, but the idea is now you can shine your emotions brightly. The ego of the sun being seen, the status, is no longer there because of the hidden ego, aka the devil card. You don't need both of these things anymore because you've conquered them both, even when you're in the light. You got to understand that the conquering of the ego comes in the ego form, and it comes in the light ego and the dark ego. That's what we call the subconscious mind. But again, there are three different parts of the same thing. Three different parts of the same thing. And two of them appear to be dark and devil-like, aka the devil and the moon card. We can even include the tower card in there too as the trifold. But again, if you can see it twice, you can see it three times. If you can see it three, you can see it four. And if you got four, you can make a 5 all the way up to 12. So, here's the second aspect behind the sun. Again, the sun card refers to things, stars being close, that ego, versus stars being far. A spacious ego. Same ego, but the idea is when we can take a step back, we can now see which of these suns shine the most, which one of them shines the brightest, which one of these areas of my life still withstands the dipolarities. What part of us handles the scrutiny of all the aspects that could be polarized along my own egotistical thought pattern, my own egotistical emotional expression, my own egotistical passionate dwellings? What do I understand? What did I learn? Oh, and I learned that there's going to be one aspect that stands out the most no matter what I do. So what do? I follow that and I balance that with both the emotions into the emotions and emotions into the actions that I'll take. The pentacles. Again, that'll help us overcome the trials and tribulations of defeat within our own stories. And now we're going to be allowed to move. Even though we're going to be moving slower to overcome these obstacles. These obstacles don't know that you have been tethered through temperance. You've been tethered through temperance, and so you can conquer anything masterfully and then strategically. And then you can walk away from the emotions, again, the emotions of the hidden ego, the hidden varieties, and then you can walk towards the sun, the light. And in this sun, you have a face that is looking. In this moon, you have a face that is not looking. It's internal things versus external things, but these are things none the same. And guess what? You can take action on these things that are the same nonetheless. You have to realize in which ways. Again, these obligations that you're carrying for yourself, these things that you are using to cultivate your spiritual power, your development, your growth, these are the areas that we are moving towards because we now feel powerful. Again, going back to the magician and our overall energy that came out with the Ace of Cups, you now feel powerful in all ways, and the power comes from you overcoming your ego in all ways. It's beautiful. Let me get the final message. So now you know how to collaborate with different versions of yourself that can connect and link with different versions and types of people. Different versions and types of people allow you to see yourself as the dipolar way. Again, this might be left hand, this might be right hand, this is just the idea of hand. This is just body part. This is just fruit when this is apple and that one is orange. This is the idea of knowing that these two things are drastically different. One has color, the other one has on black. But this person is a combination. This man has dark colors and light colors, and he has shades of black and shades of different colors. Just like this person here and just like that person there. It is the baby, it's the genesis, it's the creation of these things that were established once before. And now these things of previous high status have to adhere to a higher status, a higher level of understanding in the practical world. But in this practicum, you have these energies that solidify us through space. And these are the impracticums. That is your real numbers versus your irrational numbers. It's irrational to see these people as the same. Well, one is clearly standing above the rest. But these are people, so it's rational to see them as people and irrational to see a difference. But then you can see a difference in their clothing, and that may be rational, but then it will be irrational to say that these people aren't naked. They are wearing clothes, so what does it matter what clothes they look like? What clothes they decide to wear? What clothes they decide to combine? None of these things hold true, and all of these things hold true. It's not a paradox. It's a dipole piece of information, which is what we call a plus or minus in mathematics and algebra 2. When you're factoring things, you're trying to see the root of it. And so when you look at things that are not just single or dual, you can look at things in polynomial factorialization, polynomial factors. And now you have two sets of things, plus side and the minus side, and they can either move at the same rate or they can move at a different rate. But you absolutely have a rate of movement. You absolutely going to have some kind of way to relate to the people around you. You're always going to do that now because you feel like you can. You got power and feeling like you can because you can do all things that the ego will allow, whether that's ego in the sunlight or ego in the moonlight. You have the ability and the authority to walk away from the things that you don't need, to walk towards the things that you desire, and to walk away from the things that you desired and go back to the things that you didn't thought that you ever needed. So I hope that you are okay with where you're at right now. I hope you can find power with your current situation and how you feel. And I hope that you can make the changes in all parts of your life with the feeling of I can, knowing that you already did. So, with that being said, I appreciate y'all for being here. I hope you all be great. Peace.